Izumi is an average loser like you who everyone avoids because he's a klutz with constant bad luck. However, everything changes when he somehow bags the hottest girl in school who is so down bad for him, she will do anything to protect him. The story begins with Izumi preparing for school to begin the new semester. As he's rushing to leave this house, his mother tells him to be careful out there because of his bad luck, but bro isn't bothered because all he cares about is seeing his girlfriend. Just as he leaves the house, he trips on a rock and loses his first kiss to the ground. After he recovers, a bird uses his face as a makeshift toilet, so he decides to hurry up so he doesn't get roughed up before school. Not long after, he meets Shikamori, his hot girlfriend, who is in love with him despite the anime gods cursing him with S-ranked bad luck. As they walk to school, Truck-kun notices that Izumi is getting too comfy with life, so it reverses and tries to run him over. Shikamori notices this at the last second and pulls Izumi out of the way, and it makes Izumi sad because she's always saving him. However, Shikamori tells him not to think too much about it because she cares about him. At school, they find everyone gathered around to check their newly assigned classrooms. Izumi gets nervous because he doesn't want to be separated from Shikamori, so Shikamori promises to always visit him even if they end up in different classes. Luckily, they end up in the same class, so he gets excited and now looks forward to a good semester with Shikamori. Later in class, Izumi's bad luck kicks in as he's about to get hit by the board eraser, but Shikamori arrives in time to save him again, only for her hair to get covered in chalk dust. Izumi thanks her for the help and cleans the dust off her hair, which makes her floodgates start twitching. As a result, she sprints off to the restroom to calm down. But that's when three goons ask Izumi how a loser like him managed to bag a chick as hot as Angelina Jolie. Shikamori returns and shoots the three goons a deadly side-eye before walking out, which makes them wet their pants. Outside, Shikamori tells Izumi not to worry about what others say, but Izumi is only focused on making sure she doesn't get hurt because of him. After classes, Izumi bumps into one of his buddies, Inuzuka, and agrees to a group hangout with him and Shikamori's friends. Later, they all head to the bowling alley, so Inuzuka declares that the loser will treat the winner to anything they want. Izumi asks Shikamori if she's ever gone bowling before, and she lies that she's a newbie, so Izumi doesn't feel insecure about playing. Once everyone's had their shot, it's Izumi's turn to play, but the dude flops hard because of his bad luck and gets laughed at by everyone. Shikamori is next after him, and since she doesn't want to make Izumi feel left out, she decides she'll play badly on purpose so he finds her cute and clumsy. However, when Izumi encourages her to play at her best, she realizes she doesn't need to pretend, so she plays her best and gets a perfect score. This draws everyone's attention in the arcade as they cheer for her while Izumi notes that she's really cool. After that, Shikamori high-fives Izumi for encouraging her, but the small gesture gives him butterflies in his belly. On their way home, Izumi asks Shikamori what she wants, since she scored the most points, so she asks him to walk her home because she likes it. On the way, it gets windy, and a newspaper flies towards Izumi, but Shikamori blocks it without even looking. Izumi thanks her once again and apologizes for always dragging her into his bad luck, but Shikamori says he doesn't have to apologize, and she'll always be there for him. She then asks if he feels bad about what those losers said in class, and Izumi admits that those guys were telling the truth about him being a burden. Just then, a signboard comes falling toward Izumi's head, but Shikamori reacts swiftly to save him. After that, Shikamori holds Izumi, promising to always protect him no matter what people say, but her gentle touch overwhelms Izumi, causing him to blurt out that he loves her. Shikamori turns red as a result, and she starts tweaking because it's the first time Izumi has ever said this. The following week at school, the entire class is buzzing with talk about the tournament being held that day. The boys are scheduled for a football match, while the girls are set to face a rival class in volleyball. Izumi, however, isn't thinking about winning at all. His only real wish is to make it through the football game without getting injured. Fully aware that his terrible luck guarantees he'll mess up, he accepts that he's going to be useless on the field. He then comes up with a plan to at least look good by cheering on his girlfriend instead. That plan immediately falls apart when he checks the schedule and realizes the football match starts before the girls' volleyball game, sending him into a mild panic. Shikamori, meanwhile, is worried about the opposing team, which happens to be the favorite to win, and she knows her class is going to have a tough fight if they want to come out on top. Trying to help in his own way, Izumi suddenly grabs her hand and says he's transferring his good luck to her, completely forgetting that his luck is about as helpful as his own unfortunate face. Not long after, the boys' football match begins. While most of the players are seriously focused on the game, Izumi immediately lives up to expectations by losing his balance and crashing face first into the ground like a complete disaster. Watching from the sidelines with Neko, Shikamori grows anxious about her boyfriend's safety and decides to send him some genuine good luck energy. For a brief moment, it almost seems to work, as the ball suddenly rolls straight toward Izumi, perfectly positioned in front of the goal. But the instant this walking catastrophe tries to kick it, a small breeze nudges the ball forward, throwing him off balance and sending him tumbling once again. At that point, Shikamori completely loses hope, realizing her boyfriend is far too hopeless to be saved. Things somehow manage to get even worse when the loose ball slams directly into Izumi's face, and Shikamori panics, sprinting over to him to make sure he's still breathing. Hours later, Izumi is resting in the nurse's office, laid out on a bed while Shikamori stays by his side, faithfully watching over him. Shocked by what happened, Izumi apologizes, but Shikamori reassures him that it wasn't his fault and that his cursed bad luck is to blame. As she looks at him more closely, she starts admiring his hair, which is when she notices a large scar on his face. When she asks about it, Izumi explains that his long history of terrible luck has left him with plenty of injuries, and that particular scar was the result of a truck crashing straight into his house. Learning about Izumi's accident-filled past genuinely scares Shikamori, to the point where she begs him to stay by her side as much as possible so she can always protect him. Just as she's about to leave for her own volleyball match, Izumi suddenly starts getting emotional, sulking like a spoiled kid who doesn't want to be left alone. To cheer him up, Shikamori shamelessly teases him by climbing Millimeter Peter. Izumi instantly turns red and looks like he's on the verge of completely losing it, but Shikamori hops off almost immediately, revealing she was just messing with him. Izumi throws a mini tantrum, whining that his little soldier is already fired up, but Shikamori ignores his protests and heads out, promising she'll see him later. Over at the volleyball court, the rival class is fully prepared for battle, and their ace player, Kamiya, is ready to completely crush Shikamori's team. The moment Shikamori arrives, the match kicks off, and during the first half, Kamiya and her squad absolutely dominate, giving Shikamori's class a brutal beating. While the game is underway, Inuzuka barges into the nurse's office, yanks Izumi out of bed, and drags him along to watch the girls play. When they finally reach the court, it's obvious that Shikamori's team is getting destroyed. Everyone starts losing hope, convinced the girls are about to lose, but Izumi remains stubbornly confident that his girlfriend can pull off a miracle at the last second. He starts yelling her name and cheering like a madman, earning him plenty of judgmental looks, but somehow his shouting reaches her. Shikamori hears him, fixes her hair with a sharp, intimidating expression, and makes it clear she's not about to disappoint him. As the second half begins, everyone is stunned to see Shikamori and her teammates suddenly playing like they're possessed, moving with insane energy and precision. Kamiya and her team don't stand a chance as the score quickly evens out, and by the end of the match, Shikamori's class pulls off an unexpected victory. For the rest of the day, Shikamori becomes an instant celebrity, with girls all over the school lining up to take pictures with her. Because of that, Izumi ends up completely sidelined, and the risless fool can't even get close to his own girlfriend. As if on cue, his bad luck strikes again when a ball comes flying through a window at full speed, but this time, Inuzuka saves him by taking the hit straight to the face and collapsing instantly. Izumi is overwhelmed with guilt, realizing this only happened because of his cursed luck, as he crouches down and starts touching Inuzuka's face in a way that looks way too Gabriel-ish, which Shikamori sees and immediately gets jealous. Later that day, while heading home, Izumi reflects on all the times Inuzuka has helped him and realizes he's been nothing but a walking burden to his friend. Lost in thought, he misses a step on the stairs like a drunk idiot and nearly ruins his life on the spot. Out of nowhere, Shikamori appears and catches him just in time, saving him from a potential lifelong disaster. She's annoyed that he left her behind and decides to walk home alone, but Izumi panics and explains he only did that because he didn't want to get in the way of her enjoying her moment as a school celebrity. Shikamori shuts that down immediately, telling him he's the only person she wants to walk home with, before starting to complain about his sudden bromance with Inuzuka. She points out that he spent all day with him instead of her and admits she's jealous. That confession makes Izumi laugh, and he reassures her that he has zero interest in walking home with some dork-faced guy and only wants to be with her. Hearing that, Shikamori gets flustered, her tough act completely crumbling as she blushes like a hopeless romantic. The next day in class, Inuzuka casually hands Izumi 2 movie tickets, explaining that he got them from a co-worker and won't be able to use them since he'll be stuck working anyway. Izumi gratefully thanks him, and just as Inuzuka walks off, he notices Shikamori staring in his direction, only for her to immediately look away and pretend she wasn't when their eyes meet. Taking the hint, Izumi walks over to her desk, and the moment he asks if she'd like to go see a movie with him, Shikimori answers with an enthusiastic yes, not even hesitating for a second. Later that day at home, Izumi's brain goes into full self-sabotage mode as he starts imagining every possible way his cursed luck could ruin the date. Refusing to let fate clown him again, Izumi decides to prepare for every disaster scenario he can think of. He grabs 2 umbrellas in case Mother Nature decides to be petty, ties his wallet to a string so it physically can't escape him, and packs extra towels just in case they get splashed with water or covered in mud. After shoving all this so-called emergency gear into his backpack, he finally steps back and realizes it looks less like he's going on a movie date and more like he's preparing for an evacuation. To make things worse, his weak arms can barely lift the overloaded bag, forcing him to struggle just to carry it. At the same time, Shikimori is dealing with her own kind of crisis at home, desperately trying to look like a complete baddie for the date. She pulls out outfit after outfit, trying them on one by one, but no matter what she wears, she can't decide what feels right. In the middle of her fashion breakdown, her brother, who looks like a failed K-pop idol with badly dyed hair, barges into her room and starts grilling her about where she's going. Shikimori immediately shuts him down, telling him to get his trash hair and himself out of her room before slamming the door on him. The next day, as Izumi heads toward the train station, he reflects on the morning so far. Even though his backpack strap already snapped earlier and he somehow got roped into helping a lost kid find the police, everything still feels strangely normal, which gives him a rare sense of confidence that maybe, just maybe, things will go smoothly. When he arrives at the station, he spots Shikimori already waiting for him. He apologizes for making her wait, but the moment he really looks at her, he's struck by how ridiculously cute she looks, and his face instantly turns bright red. As they board the train together, Izumi starts drifting off into a fantasy about the romantic movie they'll watch and how it might naturally lead to their first kiss. The thought alone sends his heart racing, and when Shikimori notices his tomato-red face, she asks if he's feeling sick. Izumi quickly denies it, insisting he's perfectly fine. Once they reach the cinema, the two of them stand in front of the movie listings, staring at the options without knowing what to choose. Izumi quietly wonders whether Shikimori would prefer a romance film or something action-packed to match her athletic side, but when he finally asks her opinion, she simply smiles and tells him she'll be happy with whatever he picks. Izumi immediately refuses, saying that Shikimori always prioritizes his interests, so this time he wants to choose something she genuinely likes. After a bit of hesitation, Shikimori finally gives in and points at a horror movie centered around an evil clown. Izumi internally loses his mind on the spot, but Shikimori casually explains that the movie has been trending all over social media lately. Noticing his obvious discomfort, she asks if he's really okay with her choice. Izumi puts on a brave face and says he can handle it, even though deep down he vividly remembers the last time he watched a horror movie and literally peed himself in fear. Still, he forces himself to man up, convincing himself that everything will be fine. He even starts imagining a scenario where Shikimori gets scared instead, and he gets to comfort her like a reliable, masculine boyfriend. That fantasy dies almost immediately once the movie starts, as Izumi completely falls apart, shaking uncontrollably like a fragile little princess. Shikimori ends up having to calm him down by tightly holding his hand through the movie. When the horror finally ends, Shikimori apologizes for picking it, admitting she had no idea he was such a spineless beta male. Izumi brushes it off, claiming the experience actually made him stronger, and suggests they grab something to eat. Unfortunately, the moment they reach the food store, his cursed luck strikes again when he realizes he's lost his wallet, despite literally tying it to a string earlier. Luckily, they run into Izumi's parents, who casually suggest that everyone just head back to their place for dinner instead, treating it as a chance to finally meet their son's waifu. Izumi and Shikimori agree, and once they arrive, Shikimori is stunned by the massive spread of food laid out on the table. Just as they're about to eat, Izumi's clumsy mom offers to serve everyone but immediately drops the tongs. The tongs knock into a fork, sending it flying across the table straight toward Izumi's oversized eyes. As usual, Shikimori reacts instantly, catching it midair like some low Temu Spider-Man. Izumi's parents are blown away by her reflexes and start clapping like overexcited toddlers. To show their appreciation, they heap even more food onto her plate and tell her she's welcome to come over anytime she's starving. After dinner, Shikimori heads into the kitchen to help Izumi's mom with the dishes. At first, the mom insists she go spend time with Izumi instead, but when Shikimori mentions that he's already fast asleep, she reluctantly agrees. While washing dishes together, Izumi's mom thanks Shikimori for staying by her son's side, despite his terrible luck. She reminisces about his childhood, recalling how he used to come home covered in new injuries every single day, looking like he'd just escaped a crime scene. She explains that it's probably because Izumi has always cared more about others than himself. Mid-conversation, she accidentally drops a plate, but Shikimori catches it before it hits the floor. The mom laughs, thanks her, and jokingly wonders where Izumi inherited his clumsiness from. Then, growing a bit more serious, she admits she hopes Shikimori won't lose patience with her son, even if being with him makes life a little harder. Shikimori immediately shakes her head and says that won't happen. She explains that while others might see Izumi as a clumsy loser, she only sees his bad luck as a small flaw. In fact, she believes it's because of that bad luck that Izumi grew into such a kind and considerate person, and that's exactly why she wants to protect him no matter what. Izumi's mom is deeply moved by her heartfelt Girlfriend of the Month speech and jokingly says she wishes Shikimori were her girlfriend instead. When it gets late, Izumi's mom wakes the sleeping prince and tells him it's time to take his girlfriend home. Izumi jolts awake in panic, immediately thinking he completely screwed up, but he's shocked to see Shikimori and his dad intensely battling each other in a boxing game. When the match ends, the two of them casually dab at each other like bros, which makes Izumi smile, relieved that they're actually getting along. As they prepare to leave, Izumi tells his parents he'll walk Shikimori home, and they agree, seeing her off warmly. While walking together, Izumi apologizes for falling asleep like a drunk sloth, but Shikimori laughs and says she actually enjoyed watching him sleep, making him blush out of pure embarrassment. She then asks what kind of movies he actually likes, and Izumi admits he's into slow, cheesy rom-coms that focus on friendship. Hearing that, Shikimori smiles softly and suggests that next time, they should watch movies like that together on their next date. The following week at school, Inuzuka calls Izumi over to talk about plans for summer break. As Izumi makes his way toward the group, his bad luck immediately clocks in for work, with a random insect dive-bombing his head while the sun starts roasting his skin like Sukuna did Jogo. Before he can fully disintegrate, Shikimori suddenly appears and hands him a bottle of water, saving him from melting into a sad little puddle on the pavement. Once everyone's gathered, Neko suggests they spend their break at the beach. Shikimori lights up instantly at the idea, but Izumi is immediately reminded of his last beach trip, where he spent the entire day hiding alone under an umbrella, avoiding sunlight like a neglected houseplant. Sensing disaster, Inuzuka steps in like a real one and suggests they go to the river instead, since Izumi's body clearly operates better under moonlight than direct sunlight. Izumi protests, saying they shouldn't change plans just for him, but Inuzuka shuts that down, insisting they pick something everyone can actually enjoy. After some back and forth, the group settles on the river. Just when it seems settled, the tiny menace known as Hachi pipes up and reminds everyone that even if they avoid the sun, Izumi's bad luck alone is enough to ruin the entire day. The group goes silent, realizing the gremlin isn't wrong. That's when Shikimori steps forward without hesitation and boldly declares that she'll protect her boyfriend no matter what happens. The sheer confidence of the statement stuns everyone, and Neko immediately starts teasing her, crowning her the official poster girl for World's Best Pick-Me Girl. A few days later, the group heads to the mall to shop for the river trip. Inuzuka tries to be responsible and suggests they focus on studying instead, since final exams are coming up, but Neko snaps at him and tells him to shut his clueless mouth, insisting that if they're going to the river, swimsuits are non-negotiable. When Shikimori asks Izumi if he plans on swimming, he hesitates, mentally runs through several drowning scenarios, and politely says he'll pass. Right on cue, Neko and Hachi invite Shikimori to come shop for swimsuits with them. Shikimori refuses, saying that since her man isn't swimming, there's no reason for her to buy one either. The girls shrug and leave her behind. Moments later, Shikimori catches Izumi staring at a poster featuring an OnlyFans model, and her expression shifts from adorable to nuclear in 2 seconds. Before Izumi can even explain that he wasn't drooling over the poster like a creep, Shikimori storms off toward the restroom in a jealous rage. Left behind and completely confused, Izumi watches her go as Inuzuka suggests they abandon the drama and head to the food court to study instead. Meanwhile, Shikimori finds herself wandering through the clothing section, where she spots a sleek black bikini that immediately grabs her attention. Unfortunately for her, Neko and Hachi show up at the worst possible moment and catch her holding it. They burst out laughing, reminding her that she literally just said she wasn't getting a swimsuit. Their laughter quickly turns to shock when they really look at it and realize how dangerously hot the bikini actually is. Completely flustered, Shikimori's face turns bright red as she stammers that it's not what it looks like. When she finally admits that she changed her mind because her boyfriend was practically getting bricked up over some swimsuit model poster, her friends lose it and start teasing her non-stop for being absurdly competitive with everyone, including a random poster girl. As it turns out, this fiery streak of hers isn't new at all. Back when Shikimori first transferred to the school, Neko had been instantly captivated by her long pink hair and effortlessly perfect looks. Since she and Hachi were flatter than your ex's backyards, they were genuinely stunned by how naturally pretty Shikimori was. Neko, hovering on the edge of losing her sanity, decided right then and there that she had to be friends with her. Even in class, she couldn't stop talking about how badly she wanted to get close to Shikimori. When Hachi pointed out that it was weird for a girl to sound that obsessed with another girl, Neko didn't even deny it, and straight up admitted that she was itching to eat Shikimori's cakes. A few days later, during one of the girls' basketball practices, Neko finally got her chance to face Shikimori on the court. What was supposed to be a friendly practice session instantly turned into an all-out showdown, with both girls going at each other like sworn rivals fighting over the same man. Even when the other players were completely worn out, Neko and Shikimori kept pushing themselves like their lives depended on it. By the time it was over, both of them were utterly spent, barely able to stay on their feet. That was when Neko finally decided to shoot her shot and casually asked Shikimori out for lunch. Caught off guard by the sudden invitation, Shikimori hesitated for a moment before agreeing, and just like that, their friendship was born. Back in the present, Neko reminds Shikimori of just how much she hates losing, practically treating it as a personal sin. Shikimori tries to deny it, but Neko waves it off and suggests they stop arguing and continue shopping for swimsuits together. Hours later, Izumi and Yuzuka are still camped out at the food court, buried in their study session, when the girls finally return from shopping. Izumi immediately notices the suspicious smile on Shikimori's face. When he asks if she bought anything, she blushes intensely and denies it without missing a beat. Izumi calls her out on the spot, insisting she's lying and pointing out that whenever she does, it's painfully obvious from her expression. The next day after school, Izumi feels like a complete failure after realizing he couldn't finish his exam. As usual, his bad luck had sabotaged him, with every pen he tried to use mysteriously running out of ink mid-test. Shikimori tries to comfort him afterward, but he's too mentally drained to respond and ends up walking home alone, brushing off her encouragement entirely. Later that night, while trying to hype himself up for the next exam, Izumi gets a call from his girlfriend, who bluntly asks if he's still crying. Izumi lies and says he's fine, but Shikimori admits she didn't really have a reason to call other than wanting to hear his voice. Those words hit him hard, instantly sending his face into meltdown mode as his brain short-circuits. After a moment, he manages to pull himself together and awkwardly changes the subject. Pulling open his curtains, he starts rambling about the night sky like a full-blown astronomy nerd, talking about constellations and how much he loves stargazing. He admits that every time his dad used to take him out to see the stars, it would always rain, so he never actually got to see them properly. Shikimori quietly promises that no matter what, she'll be the one to take him somewhere he can finally see a sky filled with stars. Izumi's heart practically liquefies at the thought, and wanting to return the sentiment, he tells her he'll take her anywhere she wants to go. When he asks if she has a specific place in mind, Shikimori says she doesn't care where it is, as long as she's with him. Whether it's the movies or an amusement park, just being together is enough for her. Hearing that completely breaks Izumi, and he starts tearing up like a hopeless romantic. Shikimori gently cuts him off, telling him they should both get some sleep since it's already late. Izumi, however, keeps rambling, calling her amazing and admitting he wishes he could see her right now. That finally makes Shikimori crack, and completely embarrassed, she abruptly hangs up. Even so, that short phone call gives Izumi all the motivation he needs to face the next day's exam. Meanwhile, alone in her room, Shikimori feels a little guilty for ending the call so suddenly, especially since, deep down, her floodgates are already overflowing. Before long, summer break arrives, and the gang finally heads to the river, sticking to the plan they'd all agreed on. As soon as they reach the riverside, they decide to start a barbecue. Neko proudly unveils the neatly packaged meat she picked up from the grocery store, while Inuzuka grabs a knife, insisting on handling the vegetables. But when he plunges the knife into the onions like some unhinged maniac, Neko immediately freaks out. Things take a turn for the worse when Izumi volunteers to chop instead. Remembering his notorious bad luck, everyone immediately panics, imagining him accidentally slicing off a finger, or worse. To their shock, Izumi starts chopping the onions with surgical precision, moving as if possessed by Deadpool, leaving even Shikimori speechless. When asked how he learned to cook like that, Izumi explains that he used to help his mom in the kitchen all the time, which honed his skills. Inuzuka can't resist teasing him, joking that with abilities like that, every girl must be lining up to date him. Shikimori immediately scolds Inuzuka, warning him not to spout nonsense like that ever again. Once the prep is done, everyone gets to work and the meat hits the grill. While the others focus on the barbecue, Izumi notices Shikimori carefully assembling a dish of her own. She's completely focused, putting all her attention into making it just right. When she finishes, she hands it to Izumi proudly, saying it's for him. Excited, Izumi takes a bite, but nearly vomits on the spot, because the food tastes worse than dog poop. Shikimori, puzzled by his reaction, tries a bite herself, only to confirm that a dog would eat it and sue them for animal abuse. But to everyone's surprise, Izumi keeps eating. Shikimori protests, but he insists he's fine, explaining that he'll eat it because she made it with her heart and because he knows what it's like to mess up seasoning himself. His selflessness completely melts her heart, and she silently vows to actually learn how to make proper, tasty meals in the future. Once the barbecue winds down, Izumi brings out some homemade snacks he prepared earlier. They look like something straight out of a fancy bakery. Leaning over, he whispers to Shikimori that he made them especially for her. She eagerly takes a bite, and when Izumi shyly asks if she likes it, she licks her finger in a teasingly suggestive way, saying she could eat it every day. The sight immediately short-circuits Izumi's brain, leaving him flustered and speechless. After snacking, Inuzuka and the girls rush off to prepare for the river, leaving Izumi and Shikimori alone for a brief moment. Just before joining the others, Shikimori quietly tells him that, next time, it should just be the two of them, and Izumi nods enthusiastically in agreement. A moment later, she starts feeling insecure about the bikini she picked for the trip, so she excuses herself to join the group. No sooner does she leave than Izumi spots a girl floating in the river, clutching a balloon. Suddenly, the current starts pushing her downstream, and panic sets in. Meanwhile, Neko continues teasing Shikimori, asking when she'll finally put on the sleek black swimsuit she bought. Inuzuka looks around, suddenly realizing Izumi isn't nearby, and asks where he went. At that exact moment, Izumi emerges from the river, desperately trying to save the little girl, but his grotesque, flailing face terrifies her so much that she ends up banging his head against the water multiple times. Even then, Izumi refuses to give up, struggling to guide the little girl to safety despite her panicked flailing. Once she manages to climb out of the water, Izumi tries to pull himself up as well, but of course, his infamous bad luck strikes immediately. His foot slips, and he crashes back into the river, flailing helplessly as the current drags him under. From a distance, the group hears the little girl screaming for help, and they rush over just in time to see Izumi thrashing in the water like a drowning mess. Panic sets in across the gang, but Shikimori doesn't hesitate. Like a trained lifeguard, she dives in and drags him out before he can become fish food. Together, they swim back to the cliffside, and once they reach solid ground, she flicks him on the forehead, scolding him for being reckless while fully aware of how cursed his luck truly is. Izumi apologizes profusely and thanks her, but their brief moment of relief is interrupted by the mother of the rescued girl. The woman launches into a frantic, over-the-top thank you speech, and to everyone's shock, the little brat then kisses Izumi on the cheek as a gesture of gratitude, instantly setting Shikimori's jealousy ablaze. After the drama settles, the group returns to splashing around and enjoying the river. For the first time, Izumi notices Shikimori's swimsuit top and compliments it, making her blush slightly. Later, the day continues with more shopping and ice cream. When Izumi takes a bite of Shikimori's ice cream, she leans in to take some of his, only for the ever-chaotic Inuzuka to appear out of nowhere and devour the entire scoop, leaving the couple fuming. For revenge, Shikimori scoops up Inuzuka's ice cream and finishes it herself, giving him a taste of his own medicine. As the sun sets and the gang calls it a day, they board an empty train for the ride home. Within minutes, Inuzuka and the girls are fast asleep, and Shikimori soon follows suit. When the train hits a few bumps, she unconsciously rests her head on Izumi, using him as a pillow. His face immediately turns bright red, but he manages to keep his composure despite the overwhelming embarrassment. Sitting there, Izumi reflects on the day's adventures and feels a warm, quiet happiness settle over him. Eventually, he succumbs to the infectious sleepiness that has overtaken everyone else and dozes off. When Shikimori wakes a little later, she notices that Izumi and Inuzuka have drifted too close together. Calmly, she separates them and gently moves Izumi's head onto her shoulder instead, letting him rest comfortably while keeping him close. The next day, Izumi lies sprawled on the couch, feeling like a piece of burnt toast after spending too much time under the scorching sun at the river. While chatting with Shikimori on the phone, a sudden television announcement catches his attention. It's about the annual fireworks display coming up over the weekend. Excitedly, Izumi immediately starts hyping himself up at the thought of seeing the fireworks with Shikimori. When she reminds him that he's still recovering from his sunburn, he waves it off confidently, insisting he'll be fine in a day or two. The next day, his dad helps him prepare for the festival by trying to fit him into his old jinbei. Of course, it doesn't fit because Izumi is so skinny as he looks more like a skeleton on Ozempic. Seeing the disaster, his mom suggests he wear a yukata instead. Meanwhile, at Shikimori's house, she's struggling with her own preparations, watching a tutorial on how to wear a kimono properly. After a few failed attempts, her bubble-gum chewing brother notices her struggle and steps in to help tie it correctly. When the day of the fireworks finally arrives, Izumi is overprepared as his bag is stuffed with every imaginable survival item. When Shikimori arrives in her kimono, looking like she stepped straight out of a dream, Izumi nearly loses his soul, struck by how flawless she looks. As the festival kicks off, they stroll through the carnival together, trying different stalls and stopping to watch a magician perform tricks. Eventually, they reach the cotton candy stand, where Izumi buys a fluffy pink treat and looks like he's reached the peak of happiness. When he offers some to Shikimori, she nods, and his guilt immediately flares up. He remembers the trouble he caused her back at the river and feels utterly useless for not being able to repay her kindness. Shikimori quickly brushes it off, insisting he hasn't caused her any trouble. Still, Izumi frets, noting how much she does for him and how he can't seem to return the favor. That's when Shikimori surprises him by admitting she's never really cared for sweet things, but she's started liking them because of him. Taking a slow bite of the cotton candy, she tells him that if he truly wants to thank her, he already has. They continue wandering the festival and stumble upon a shooting game booth. Excitedly, Izumi declares he'll win whatever prize Shikimori wants. She chooses a wolf doll, and the store owner smirks, urging Izumi to prove he's a real alpha. Confidently, he grabs the rifle, determined to hit the target in one shot. After several pathetic attempts, he fails miserably, feeling like a complete failure. The store owner, perhaps out of pity, hands him a tiny consolation doll to soothe his bruised ego. Then Shikimori steps up. The misogynistic store owner laughs, doubting her delicate frame could handle the gun. The moment Izumi cheers her on, she locks in her aim like a seasoned pro, moving with deadly precision. In the next instant, she doesn't just hit the wolf doll, she knocks over half the prizes on the shelf. The owner freezes, convinced she must be some kind of supernatural hit woman. When she earns the doll, Shikimori surprises everyone by handing it over to Izumi. When he asks why, she simply smiles and tells him that she actually got it for him. As the evening wears on, Izumi and Shikimori suddenly run into Inuzuka and the girls at the carnival. Neko and Hachi immediately gush over Shikimori's yukata, pulling out their phones to snap pictures for the gram, while Inuzuka nudges Izumi, insisting they hit the goldfish stand like real men. Izumi agrees without hesitation, and before anyone can blink, the two are locked in a heated contest to see who can catch the most goldfish. Shikimori watches, a hint of dread in her eyes, fully expecting her boyfriend's notorious bad luck to strike, and, as predicted, it does. Izumi drops his scoop net at the crucial moment, handing the win to Inuzuka on a silver platter. Shikimori, however, refuses to let her boyfriend's pride be trampled. Stepping forward, she radiates an almost dangerous aura, declaring that she will avenge him. Everyone is stunned, and even Inuzuka accepts the challenge with a grin like a true top G. The contest begins, and Inuzuka catches one goldfish with ease, but as Shikimori tries, every fish seems to scatter from her path. Neko starts panicking, realizing the fireworks are about to start, and knowing Shikimori's competitive streak, she snatches the scoop from her hand, while Hachi reminds her that they need to head to the viewing area. Together, they drag Shikimori away from the contest and toward the fireworks with Izumi. On the way, Shikimori's sandal strap snaps, and without hesitation, Izumi improvises so she can keep walking. But when she starts getting blisters, he does the unthinkable by crouching down and carrying her on his back. Earlier, his dad had told him about a secret spot where the fireworks could be seen in perfect clarity, and Izumi is determined to get her there. As they move toward the spot, the fireworks begin to light up the sky. Even carrying Shikimori, he hurries, only to encounter a daunting staircase with hundreds of steps. Shikimori suggests they give up, but Izumi reassures her and starts climbing. Breathing like Diddy when he got caught, he refuses to give in. Every muscle aches, but his determination carries him to the top. Shikimori is genuinely impressed, realizing just how strong he has become. At the summit, they find a bench and sit down to watch the fireworks in full glory. Izumi immediately asks if her feet hurt, but Shikamori waves it off, apologizing for making him go through so much trouble. He insists it's fine, but she worries that he might see her as bad or weird because all she wants is for him to see her as cute. Izumi reassures her, telling her he's already seen her silly side, and even though she always wants to be perfect, she can relax around him without embarrassment. He opens up, admitting he used to feel the same way, always trying to make everything perfect. That's why he didn't invite her to the fireworks last year. He was scared she'd reject him or think less of him. Shikamori is surprised and asks if he didn't see the fireworks at all. He admits he only listened from home, cursing himself for being too cowardly to ask her along. Shikamori gently bumps his shoulder and confesses that she had actually been waiting for his call last year. Izumi glitches like a broken game character at the revelation, stammering out an apology, but Shikamori assures him it's fine, because what matters is that they're here together now, enjoying the fireworks. When she thanks him for bringing her, Izumi is left utterly speechless, unsure how to respond. As the fireworks end, Izumi crouches to carry her down the stairs, but the moment he steps, he slips, and both nearly tumble down the steps. Out of nowhere, Izumi's dad swoops in, catching them and carrying both like a makeshift superhero. To their surprise, Izumi's mom is right there too. When Shikamori asks why they're even there, the hot mom casually admits they've been watching the two lovebirds the entire time, following close behind. With everyone safe, they all head home together, Izumi's dad carrying the Romeo and Juliet duo on his back, rounding off a chaotic but memorable night. After the summer break, Izumi is in his class helping with the costumes for the upcoming cultural festival, and some girls commend his waifu skills. Hachi is already tired, but the rest of the girls are hyped, saying that they'll finish soon. Izumi looks at Shikamori working in the decorations group and forgets where he is, even piercing himself with a needle. As he remembers being in the same group as Shikamori last year, he starts to get jealous of the fun her current group is having. Meanwhile, Shikamori also watches Izumi getting along with the girls in the costume group and starts to get jealous. Inuzuka is passing in front of Shikamori when he sees the look on her face, so he starts to freak out, but Neko just laughs, knowing why Shikamori is pissed. Back at home, Izumi is getting ready for the festival, hyped that his class will be going harder than last year. As he enters the school gates, he is given a card with the number 44, and he notes that the school will be repeating an event from last year involving the cards. In the class, Neko is hyping her classmates so they can earn the highest profit during the festival and win after-party tickets. Inuzuka sees Izumi's lion costume and jokes that it doesn't fit his character, but Hachi laughs at Inuzuka's dog costume that covers his entire body. Shikamori shows up and shows Izumi her rabbit costume, wondering if it's too much, but Izumi likes it, and they compliment each other's costumes. The festival finally kicks off, and visitors begin to troop into the class's animal cafe exhibit, admiring the different costumes. Izumi starts to get overwhelmed by the crowd and slips on a napkin, but Shikamori catches him and everyone starts applauding like they're watching a play. After the first day of the festival, Shikamori and Izumi head home tired from all the work, but excited about exploring the festival together on day 2. Shikamori asks about his assigned work on day 2, and Izumi informs her that he was assigned to work in the library, which will be used as a rest area. Izumi then tells her that he feels bad for working at the library when the others will be working hard at the animal cafe, so Shikamori cheers him up, saying she'll work twice as hard for his sake. On day 2 of the festival, Izumi recalls that there will be one other person working the library shift and walks into the library to see Kamiya. Izumi and Kamiya had already met last year on library duty, where she showed him the ropes and made him feel comfortable. When Izumi hears that Kamiya's class is also doing a cafe, he asks her if her class will be okay without her, and she tells him that some of her classmates even cried when they heard she was on library duty. Izumi then remarks that Kamiya is really popular, especially during the sports tournament, but she says that she also enjoys the quiet times away from her class and clubs. Kamiya then recalls when Izumi came for library duty last year and was so nervous that he hit his head on the table just trying to greet her. After he managed to calm down, she began to teach him the ropes until one day he told her that she was kind, surprising her. Izumi tells Kamiya to relax while he takes care of the work, but Kamiya starts to look at him, telling him that he's giving off a different vibe than usual. Kamiya then remarks that it must be because he has a girlfriend now, and she reveals that she found out he is dating Shikamori through Neko, who is also on the volleyball team like her. Kamiya then gets hyperactive and starts asking a bunch of questions about his relationship, making Izumi wonder if Kamiya likes Shiki. Meanwhile, Shikimori is staring at a billboard for the results of a couples event that matches students based on the cards they were given at the school gate. Hachi then breaks the fourth wall and explains that the couples event is sponsored by the student council, and the goal is to take a picture with your match. She reveals that it is how Shikimori and Izumi got together last year, so Shikimori is worried that Izumi will take a picture with some random homewrecker this year. Shikimori then makes up her mind to find Izumi's match and swap numbers with the person, but the look on her face seems like the person is also going to disappear. Back at the library, Kamiya finally settles on a question and asks Izumi when he and Shikimori started dating, so Izumi agrees, still worried that a baddie like Kamiya probably has a crush on his girlfriend. Izumi recalls the couple's event last year where he and Shikimori were matched, and Izumi was thanking his ancestors for finally granting him some luck. Shikimori tried to ask to take the couple's picture with him, but they were both as red as tomatoes, so they could only walk around the festival in the meantime. Shikimori finally worked up the courage and asked to take the picture with Izumi, but he had lost his event card. As Izumi began to despair that his ancestors had finally abandoned him, Shikimori told him that they should find it together. Izumi was reluctant at first, saying that bad things always happened to him, but Shikimori snapped him out of it, so he asked her to help him find the card. After searching for 2 hours and finding nothing, Izumi and Shikimori head to the student council to ask them for help, but they refuse, saying that the picture must be taken with the cards. Izumi was about to give up again, but then he gathered his courage and announced that he desperately wanted a picture with Shiki, surprising Shiki. When the president saw his resolve, he gave him a new card, asking him not to tell anyone, and wishing him good luck with Shiki. Izumi tells Kamiya that the push Shikimori gave him inspired him to have courage, which led to their picture getting taken. Izumi then finally reveals that after they had their picture taken, they went behind the school gym, where he asked Shikimori out. After telling Kamiya the story, she looks enlightened, like someone who just found out what the One Piece actually is. Meanwhile, Shikimori and her friends are still searching the several billboards to find out who Izumi's match is, but it is revealed to be Kamiya. In a dream, Kamiya is at the ball in her glass slippers waiting for her Prince Charming, Izumi, but when he arrives, he dances with Shikimori instead, until the clock strikes midnight and the dream ends. At the library, Kamiya asks Izumi if he has seen the new popular Cinderella live-action movie, but Izumi says he hasn't, so Kamiya tells him that the dresses and directing were great. Izumi tells her he is surprised that she has such a girly taste, but she says that she isn't too girly, and she thinks that girls who wait around aren't in vogue anymore. Izumi says that people line up to watch movies with girls like that, but Kamiya says that it is because people still wish that their Prince Charming will come to pick them up on his horse. Izumi then asks her if watching the movie made Kamiya curious about the decisions Shikimori made, prompting her to ask him all those questions about his relationship, but she just replies with a maybe. Izumi then remarks that he never expected to have such a conversation with Kamiya, and when she asks if it doesn't suit her, he replies that he is having fun. Nekozaki then enters the library and asks to speak with Kamiya in the hallway, and when Kamiya agrees, she meets Shiki, who asks to swap couple event cards with her. When Kamiya asks why, Shikimori tells her that she has the card that matches the person she likes, so Kamiya realizes that she is talking about Izumi and agrees to swap cards. When Izumi comes out to the hallway to see what was happening, he is surprised to see Shiki, who tells him that she came to pick him up, since his library duty shift is almost over. Kamiya tells him to go ahead, but Izumi refuses to leave the rest of the work to her, and this alerts Shiki, who feels like something is going on. Shikimori and Nekozaki then join Izumi and Kamiya in the library, where Shikimori watches the interaction between them, still feeling like something is off. After the library shift ends, Izumi leaves with Shiki, so Kamiya returns to her class to help out with their cafe, and everyone is excited to have her back. Even the visitors from other classes start to talk about how hot she is, and the guys start gathering around to hit on her. Kamiya starts getting overwhelmed by the voices from the crowd all talking about her, so she asks to step out for a breather. Kamiya then heads to the roof and recalls when Shikimori showed up at the library, noting that she seemed like a good person, unlike herself. Suddenly, Shikimori shows up and tries to return the card she swapped with Kamiya, saying that it is unfair, but Kamiya tells her that there's nothing wrong because people exchange numbers all the time. Shikimori then tells her that it was unfair in their case, making Kamiya realize that Shikimori had found out. Kamiya then remembers her first library duty when she was helping Izumi with some books he knocked over, and Izumi told her again that she was kind. She told him that she'd been called cool or mysterious at some point but never kind, so he told her that he thinks she is kind. Back at the rooftop, Kamiya asks why she wants to return the card, instead of warning her to stay away from Izumi, but Shikimori says that she just wants to be fair. Shikimori tells her that it would have been a different case if she didn't feel anything by giving her the card, but she doesn't want to force Kamiya to lie about her feelings. Kamiya then asks if she really wants to help her enemy, but Shikimori says that Izumi would have done the same thing. Kamiya then tells Shikimori that she doesn't need the paper, because she had no intention of asking out Izumi and that she didn't want anyone to find out about her feelings. Then she apologizes to Shiki. As Kamiya remembers how excited she always gets for library duty with Izumi, she begins to cry, apologizing that she couldn't get rid of her feelings sooner. Kamiya tells Shikimori that she originally felt more comfortable around Izumi than anyone else, but she began to betray him when they were only supposed to be friends. Hearing this, Shikimori tears up the card and embraces Kamiya, apologizing for causing her pain. Then she tells Kamiya that she can tell that she is trying to sacrifice her feelings for her and Izumi. Shikimori then tells Kamiya that she is glad that she is a kind person after all and tells her to cherish her feelings. Kamiya then dries her tears and tells Shikimori to return to Izumi before he starts crying, and after she leaves, she wonders when she cried and hopes that they'll be happy together. At Izumi's home, he gets a present ready for Shikimori's birthday, which is also their 1-year anniversary as a couple, and he resolves to get it right since he missed it last year. At the end of the festival, the students head to the after party, where Neko and Inuzuka are bummed because they were in 8th place in the earning rankings and couldn't win the free tickets for the after party. Hachi then asks Shikimori for the couple's event photo she and Izumi took, but Shikimori says that she lost it, so Nekozaki asks her when she turned into Izumi. As everyone starts heading home from the party, Izumi invites Shikimori to a park, where he gives her the present, nervously, thinking it isn't enough, but she happily accepts it. Izumi then remarks that he's happy that she's feeling better, because she hadn't been in a great mood since yesterday, but she just brushes it off as if nothing happened. Izumi then puts on a necklace from the present on her, and tells her that he'll always be there for her, no matter what happens. Shikimori then remarks that he never changes, but when he tells her that he was told recently by a friend that he had changed a bit, she says that they simply noticed his good qualities better. Shikimori then reveals that she worries that he will drift away from her, so she wishes that he would always stay the same. Izumi then tells her that although he may never be as cool as her, he wants to get stronger so that she wouldn't have to worry. Shikimori then starts crying in front of Izumi for the first time, and tells him that no matter the hot baddie that comes along, she'll never let him go. The next day, at school, immediately, Inuzuka shows up to class. Nekozaki tells him that Izumi is sick with a cold, but he reveals that Izumi already told him and asked for help with taking notes. Shikimori then shows up, saying that she didn't hear anything about taking notes from Izumi, and gives Inuzuka a scary look, making Inuzuka note that she sees him as a rival. Later, Inuzuka complains to Nekozaki and Hachi that Shikimori sees everyone around Izumi as a rival, but Hachi notes that he is the only one Shikimori has a problem with. Inuzuka begins to panic that he is hated, and asks Nekozaki if that's true, but Nekozaki just confirms that Shikimori doesn't like him because he's always with Izumi. Inuzuka is terrified at first, but he starts blushing because Izumi trusts him so much, so Hachi jokes that Izumi is cheating on Shikimori with Inuzuka. Shikimori then asks to follow Inuzuka to deliver the notes to Izumi, so Inuzuka reluctantly agrees. Then Nekozaki asks Hachi to follow them since she has club activities and can't go. On the way to Izumi's house, Shikimori and Inuzuka stop by a supermarket, where Shikimori struggles to pick out snacks for Izumi. While she asks for Inuzuka's help in choosing, she accidentally calls him Big Brother, then she runs off in embarrassment to pay for the snacks. As they head out of the supermarket, Hachi shows up and tells them that she's solved the mystery of Shiki's heart. Hachi then deduces that Shikimori has a big brother whom she talks to about her friends, but treats harshly because she isn't fully open with him. Sherlock Holmes then concludes that Shikimori has been mixing up Inuzuka with her brother, and that is why she had been treating him harshly. Inuzuka doesn't believe the theory, so he asks Shikimori to confirm that it isn't true, but she can't deny the allegations. Inuzuka and Hachi start to tease Shiki, calling her an attention-seeking baby, but she gives them a look that makes them want to piss their pants. Some days later, Nekozaki and Shikimori are alone at a mall after school, because Hachi also has a cold, and Inuzuka is at work. They spot Kamiya at a stall, and before Shikimori can say anything, Nekozaki runs off to greet her and invites Kamiya to hang out with them. To Nekozaki's surprise, Kamiya agrees, so the girls walk around the mall together, checking out the stalls. When Nekozaki heads to the bathroom, leaving the two girls alone, Kamiya asks Shikimori to teach her how to play with the crane games, where Shikimori helps Kamiya win some snacks. When Kamiya is reluctant to accept it, Shikimori tells her that she won it for her, but she delivers the line like Chris Hemsworth, making Kamiya wonder if Shikimori naturally rizzes up everyone she meets. Kamiya then decides to win a gift to repay her, and when Shikimori is reluctant, Kamiya says that she can't have everything done for her, also delivering her line like a member of anime K-pop. Nekozaki returns and is surprised to see the girls getting along. Then she recalls the other times she tried to invite Kamiya to hang out. Nekozaki would always extend an invitation to Kamiya after club activities, but she would always politely turn it down until some other girls from the club told her that Kamiya preferred to be alone. The girls told Nekozaki to stop putting Kamiya on the spot, but Nekozaki always wondered if Kamiya truly preferred being alone. The girls then head out to the mall's basketball court where they meet two Gyrus, who tell them that they have already reserved the court. Kamiya apologizes to the Gyrus, but they tell her that they're willing to compete for the right to use the court, as they don't want to play by themselves. Shikimori and Kamiya are reluctant, but the Gyrus bait them by asking if they're too chicken to compete. Then immediately, Shikimori and Kamiya are fired up. Nekozaki is shocked by how easy it is to provoke her friends. Then she decides to be the referee for the match. As the match starts, Kamiya and Shikimori take the Gyrus to school and lecture them on the art of basketball, leaving them wiped out. After the easy win, the Gyrus commend Kamiya and Shiki's teamwork, calling them good friends to their surprise. Then the girls congratulate each other and take pictures. On the way home, as Shikimori is about to take her road home, they say their goodbyes, but Kamiya says that she looks forward to seeing her again as friends, and Shikimori happily agrees. As Nekozaki and Kamiya head home, Nekozaki tells her that she seemed different today, as she had never seen her having so much fun. Kamiya then sadly asks Nekozaki if she was doing something out of character, but Neko replies that she was surprised but was mostly happy, as she had always wanted to hang out with Kamiya. Kamiya then suddenly apologizes to Nekozaki for always turning her invitations down in the past, but Nekozaki just brushes it off and apologizes for always being pushy. Kamiya then calls Nekozaki kind, but Neko says that Kamiya is the one who is kind, even to a fault, so this makes Kamiya recall all the people who have called her kind lately and get embarrassed. Kamiya asks Nekozaki what she wants to do, and she replies that she wants to get to know Kamiya better, so Kamiya agrees to answer any questions she might have. Nekozaki starts trying to think about what to ask her, and starts by asking about her favorite food, but Kamiya answers that she had never been particular about food. Nekozaki then asks Kamiya if she knew Izumi, since they were together on library duty, and Kamiya confirms. Then Nekozaki tells Kamiya that Izumi and Shikimori are dating. When Kamiya doesn't react much, Nekozaki is about to conclude that Kamiya doesn't care about their conversation, but she recalls how everyone else had always had their opinions about Kamiya and held her to their own standards. Nekozaki then asks Kamiya who made her change, when she always seemed like she was always in pain before, but Kamiya apologizes, saying that she can't answer the question. Kamiya tells Nekozaki that although she can't answer the question, someone had told her to cherish her feelings more, which she is learning to do, and that she hopes to be able to tell Nekozaki everything someday. As the girls head out to catch their trains, Nekozaki prays that Kamiya will be able to sort out her feelings someday and be able to truly smile. With the cultural festival ended and the sports festival beginning, the students are picking a lottery to decide who will join the vacant boy-girl relay competition. When it's Izumi's turn to draw, he hopes that he won't draw anything important, since he is basically useless in sports, but his classmates joke that with his luck, he'll definitely draw the relay event. Surely enough, Izumi draws the relay event, and when it's Hachi's turn, she prays not to get the relay event but also draws it, and proceeds to melt into a puddle of disappointment. When another girl draws the relay event, Shikimori sneakily swaps drawings with her, but her classmates catch her playing politics, so she can protect Izumi. With one more girl-boy pair needed for the relay, Inuzuka and Nekozaki volunteer, but Izumi only gets hyped about Inuzuka joining them, making Shikimori wonder who he's actually dating. They then hold a relay strategy meeting where Hachi immediately announces that she's going to hold them back, but she still feels better knowing Izumi will be just as disappointing as her. Inuzuka then bursts her bubble, saying that Izumi is actually fast, just that he falls a lot, and this makes Hachi feel betrayed, so Izumi assures her that he'll just fall again. With the slowpokes on edge, Shikimori is about to drop another Chris Hemsworth line to encourage them, but Inuzuka steals her line, so Shikimori starts seriously considering how to make him quietly disappear. The group gathers at the track to practice, and Hachi seriously doubts what a single day of practice will do for them, but Nekozaki is hyped, saying that they should go for gold. Nekozaki starts running first and passes the baton to Hachi, who runs like her network connection is lagging. Hachi eventually passes the baton to Izumi, who immediately trips over his uselessness, and as Hachi is getting discouraged, Izumi stands up again and keeps running. As the practice run ends, Hachi and Izumi look like they were hit by two different buses, but the rest are glowing like they just finished warming up. Izumi then asks Hachi if she wants to keep training, and she agrees, so they continue training till they couldn't move anymore at night. Izumi then thanks her for joining him and asks her if she is forcing herself, but she tells him that she is doing it for her sake. Izumi then remarks that she didn't seem into the event at all, but Hachi explains that she naturally looks lethargic and that the stress is worth it if her friends are happy. On the day of the race, Izumi is hyped to show everyone the results of their training, but he looks at Hachi by his side, who has no drive at all, and wonders how to cheer her up. Before he can do anything, Inuzuka drags Izumi off to join the cavalry battle, so Shikamori and the girls decide to go watch the event. The girls watch the cavalry battle and notice that Izumi is acting as the horse's leg instead of the rider, so Hachi asks if Izumi is even capable of lifting a person while staying alive. Meanwhile, Shikimori is looking at her boyfriend like a proud mother, but it doesn't last long as Inuzuka and Izumi eventually crash out of the event as expected. The ball tossing event is next, and Hachi is a participant, but she plans on blowing it off somehow until her friends gather to cheer her on. As the event starts, the net is too high for the girls, so nothing goes in, but Hachi keeps scoring, although it takes her 3 business days to gather more balls. At the end of the event, Hachi finishes in last place because her stamina gave out towards the end, and although her friends laugh at her, they praise her for trying. When the boy-girl relay event arrives, Inuzuka and Neko start wondering how many different prayers they'll need to keep all of Izumi's bad luck away. Hachi suddenly announces that they should go for the gold, making her friends stare at her to check if an alien had stolen her face. The initial shock then turns to hype, and Nekozaki even starts shedding tears of joy, while the rest of the group gets ready to destroy the competition. On the track, Hachi starts to get extremely nervous, so Shikimori holds her hand and tells her that she's nervous as well. The race begins with Nekozaki taking the first leg, sprinting to win, but she is tied with another runner, and the two of them maintain a lead ahead of the rest. As Neko rounds the curve, Hachi almost spirals but successfully collects the baton and starts running like her life depends on it. As other runners start catching up to her, Hachi starts forgetting how to use her limbs and face plants on the track. Hachi starts struggling to remember where she is, so Izumi calls out to her, telling her that she's almost there. Hachi stands up and manages to hand over the baton before her stamina completely evaporates. Izumi starts running and notices that although they are in last place, the gap isn't too wide, so he determines to catch up to the guy in front of him at least. As Izumi starts being impressive for once in his life, his shoes fly off his feet, and he almost face plants, but he catches himself and continues barefoot. Izumi doesn't manage to close the gap, but he manages to maintain the distance and passes the baton to Shiki, completely confident that she can turn things around. Shikimori takes off with a look on her face that you don't want to see chasing after you. She keeps kicking her pace into different gears and overtaking the runners one after the other, closing most of the ground that they had lost. As she approaches Inuzuka, the look on her face terrifies him, but he knows that everyone else had done their part, so he had to win it for his friends. Inuzuka receives the baton and takes off like the wind, while Hachi watches and cheers him on. As Inuzuka crosses the finish line in first place, Izumi and Neko jump on him, celebrating their win. Izumi then runs to hug Shiki, praises her awesomeness, and she starts blushing like a tomato. Hachi looks at her friends, amazed that they actually managed to win, then she thanks them, saying that the race was fun. The group then lines up for a winner's photo, and Hachi notes how glad she is to have met her friends. At Izumi's home, his mother is worried that Izumi is late for his test, but his father tells her that Izumi had already run out of the house to school. As Izumi runs to school, he is almost run over by a bicycle, but dives into a bush, so when the rider checks up on him, he simply says that he is already used to it. At the school nurse's office, she scolds him for always trying to get into accidents, then she mentions the upcoming field trip, and assures him that she'll also be attending. During gym period, Izumi sits out the practice due to being injured. Then Inuzuka and some other guy show up to invite him to join their field trip group, which he agrees to, although he worries about getting them into trouble. As the group heads home, a large teddy bear falls on the other guy's head, and although he laughs it off, Izumi is terrified, thinking that his bad luck caused the incident. On the day of the field trip, Izumi calls in sick and heads to a temple where he prays for the strength to endure his ordeals and also prays for a hero. Shikimori and her brother head to a mall together to go shopping, but they immediately get into an argument and split up, with Shikimori going to buy some clothes. A few days back, Shikimori and Izumi were heading back home together after a long time apart, so he proposed a date, although she was a nervous wreck due to her ulterior motives. As they decide where to go, Izumi shows Shikimori an ad for an amusement park, and she picks out a part where couples are making out, so she immediately agrees to go. Shikimori is still struggling to pick which clothes to wear when she sees her brother getting hit on by some girls, so she goes to save his cakes, since he can't handle the girls. Shiki's brother gets depressed that his kid sister, whose hand he used to hold, had to bail him out because he is extremely shy. Shikimori then mocks him, saying he is the baby who needs his hand held. Several years back, Shikimori and her brother were at a karate dojo where she had started beating the older students, although her brother tells her that she still has a long way to go. When they got home, during dinner, her brother told her that she would start going to the dojo on her own. Shiki's mother then asked if she would continue going, saying she has to decide whether she wants to continue, and Shikimori agrees. At Shiki's elementary school, some of the boys were bullying a girl from the class when Shikimori showed up and asked them to stop. They began to mock her, calling her Prince Charming, but ended up leaving so she doesn't sweep the floor with their faces. Shikimori then notes that she can't deal with boys other than her brother and that she doesn't get the whole love thing. At the dojo, Shikimori sparred with her brother, but he easily won, making Shikimori really frustrated, so they began to head home as it started raining. Shiki's brother then noticed her stylish umbrella and asked how she got it, and she said that it had been popular recently, making him tell her that she has no individuality. He then suddenly tells her that he'll be quitting karate because he found something else to do. Then he asks Shikimori to find out what she wants to do, asking her not to be like him or their mother. At school, the girl Shikimori saved from the bullies approached Shiki, asking if she ever read manga, and when she heard that Shikimori read some of her brother's manga, the girl almost jumped for joy and lent Shikimori some of her manga. Back at home, Shikimori began to read the manga, which was about romance, and became extremely interested, like a girl seeing sausage for the first time. Later, after winning a national qualifying karate match, Shikimori announced that she would be quitting karate because she had found what she wanted to do. Shikimori decided to become a cute girl with a cool boyfriend, and no longer just be comfortable chasing after her brother or mother, so Shikimori began to put effort into her looks and attitude in order to reach her goals. On the high school entrance examination day, as Izumi passed through the gates, she saw Izumi and an old teacher looking up a tree, and when she asked about what was happening, they told her that his exam ticket somehow got stuck in the tree. With time running out, the old teacher goes to fetch a ladder, but the pace at which the man was moving was second only to that of a snail. Shikimori then decides to climb the tree, saying that she's used to it, but Izumi kept complaining that it was too dangerous, so she ignored him and did it anyway. Shikimori retrieved the exam ticket for Izumi and walked off, crying on the inside because she ruined her high school debut by turning into a monkey woman. On the first day of high school, Shikimori met Izumi again, almost disappointed that he managed to get into the school, so she quickly greeted him and tried to dip, but he stopped her. Izumi sincerely thanks her, telling her that he had always been unlucky and that he would have canceled his life subscription if he tried to climb the tree himself. Shikimori then gets confused, wondering why he was still smiling at her even though she displayed her monkey skills in front of him. Then she asks him for his name. Back at the mall with her brother, he asks her how her clothes search was going, but she says that she couldn't pick anything because she is fundamentally bad at it, but her brother just mocks her for being weird. They continue walking through the mall when Shikimori stops at a lipstick stall and stares at one, saying that she always wanted to wear one. Her brother then tells her to look at him so he can put it on for her. Then he recalls when Shikimori was still little and asked to follow him to the karate dojo. Then he suddenly says that he also doesn't get fashion, and they head off. At home, Shikimori is getting ready for her date. After finally picking what to wear, then she sees the lipstick she was looking at in the mall and realizes that her brother must have gotten it for her. On the day of their date, Izumi waits at the entrance of the amusement park, excited to see Shikimori, and hypes himself up to make the date successful. Shikimori finally shows up, and Izumi is stunned by her outfit, but as she starts explaining its practicality, all he can think about is how cute his bae is. As they enter the park, their eyes gleam from all the attractions, and as Shikimori asks where to go first, Izumi has a smug look on his face as he has already planned out the date. They head to a costume store where Izumi shows her some costume ears, but she's reluctant because she doesn't want to embarrass herself. When Izumi plays the boyfriend card, Shikimori has to play along, so she chooses a Dracula cape instead, and he is all for it. They then head to a Sleeping Beauty ride with a crazy wait time, and as they wait at the entrance, Shikamori notices that it is covered by thorns and asks about the setting. Izumi explains the lore of the fairy tale, and Shikamori is intrigued, so he mocks her that she doesn't seem like she'll be into fairy tales. Shikamori argues that she still reads some fairy tales, so when he asks which ones, she mentions The Ugly Duckling, saying she prefers horror and suspense. Izumi then reminds her of how she always put him first in their relationship, and how he wants to learn more about her, aside from her proud side that hates losing. Izumi then asks Shikamori about her dream, and she tells him about the manga that made her want to experience the feeling of love. Then she rizzes her bae again, saying that her dream has already come true. As the rest of the visitors get tired of waiting for the ride, Izumi and Shikamori are having the time of their lives, chatting about everything and anything. It finally reaches their turn, and they enter the ride, which is gentle with story illustrations, beautiful music and lights, making Izumi drift off to sleep. After learning about the story of the Sleeping Beauty, Shikamori looks at Izumi and leans in for a kiss, but before she can do anything, the ride is over. When the couple steps out of the attraction, they talk about the ride. Shikamori mentions that she didn't expect the wait time to be so long, so Izumi suggests that they enter an attraction with a shorter wait time next time. Shikamori tells him that she'll wait in any line with him, then she takes his hand, and they go through different attractions together. When they reach a restaurant that Izumi had reserved, the receptionist apologizes because they had given another guest their table. As Izumi starts to panic, the receptionist offers him a different table, which is a complete upgrade from the one he reserved. As the waitress takes their orders, Izumi starts to feel self-conscious, but his tone switches up once the appetizer arrives. Izumi starts marveling about the formality of the restaurant, so Shikamori remarks that his eyes light up like a child's, leaving him embarrassed. She then explains that whenever she is with him, normal things take on a prettier color, so she wonders what the world must look like through his eyes. Izumi almost starts crying because she rizzed him so hard that he can't even tell what his food tastes like anymore. Shikamori then looks at him seriously and asks him what he sees in her eyes, and when he answers that he sees himself, she tells him that it is because he is all she looks at. At this point, Izumi gets tired of receiving all the Riz combos and decides to return one of his own, so he lets out a weak line saying that she is beautiful, but she still blushes. As they finish their meal and head out, Izumi asks what she wants to do next, and she recalls the kiss from the amusement park's commercial and tells him that's what she wants to do. Izumi immediately agrees and stretches his hand out to her, thinking she meant the scene where a grandpa was escorting his wife. Shikamori almost cries from having a dunce for a boyfriend, so she settles for holding his hand while he escorts her through the park. Noticing Shiki's disappointed reaction, Izumi finally remembers the last kiss scene from the commercial, but still tries to brush it off, thinking that it couldn't have been what she meant. On a boat ride with a great view, Izumi gets nervous due to the possibility that she wants to kiss him. He starts fumbling and asks to take a selfie with her instead, but there is a sudden blackout in the park. Izumi starts wondering if his bad luck has struck again, but Shikamori takes his hand and kisses it, saying that they are now truly alone. Izumi freaks out, wondering how she can drop those hot guy lines so naturally, but she just laughs and says that if he likes it, then there's no problem. As the blackout continues, Izumi remarks how strange it is to be in such a wide space, and yet only be able to see each other, and Shikamori says that it feels like a dream to have him look at her with nothing else to steal away his attention. Izumi remembers what Shikamori said about not wanting him to drift away and wonders how to put her at ease, so he kisses her on the cheek and tells her that he loves her and will stay with her forever. As Shikamori hugs him, the lights come back on, but she asks to stay like that for a while, so Izumi wonders if she still prefers the dream she talked about. Shikamori then tells him that she didn't expect him to take what she said about him drifting away seriously, but she is happier than she could be in any dream. The next day in class, Inuzuka is supposed to be having lunch with Izumi, but Izumi wraps his head in embarrassment as he recalls the events of the previous day. Meanwhile, Nekozaki and Hachi sense that something is up and corner her to extract the deets. When Neko asks if they kissed, Shiki's reaction gives it away, and they get elated, asking for the details, but as she explains that it was on the cheek, her friends deflate like flat tires. Neko and Hachi look dead in the eyes, and Hachi asks if Izumi just wimped out, but Shikamori starts defending him, saying that he was just trying to comfort her. Shikamori then gets pissed at herself, saying that because she had been going on the attack in their relationship, she began to panic, making Izumi worry about her. She then declares her goal to become as open-hearted as Izumi, leaving her friends to wonder if she could be any more open-hearted than she already is. Nekozaki asks Hachi if things are okay the way they are, and she simply replies that all is alright in the name of love. That's the end of today's video. If you stayed until now, comment down below pink plots. Give me 3K likes, and I'll post unplotted, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see another recap like this. Peace.